Sometimes the best things in life come from happy accidents. From toys to life-saving medical breakthroughs, some of the products we can't live without were never planned at all. Imagine creating something as simple as Play-Doh while trying to clean wallpaper or discovering Teflon in a failed experiment. The stories behind these inventions are just as fascinating as the products themselves. Stay tuned as we explore the most favorite things accidentally invented. Vaseline. What does skincare have to do with oil rigs? In 1859, young chemist Robert Chesbrough visited oil fields in Pennsylvania, where workers constantly complained about rod wax clogging their machinery. But this wasn't just an industrial nuisance. Workers were using it on their skin to soothe cuts and burns. Chesbrough, ever the opportunist, took some home, refined it, and turned it into Vaseline. Who knew a gooey substance meant to ruin machines would become a skincare hero? And just like that, a product that began as a sticky mess became one of the most trusted remedies for skin issues. Today, Vaseline sits in homes worldwide, used for everything from chapped lips to healing wounds. From the grime of oil rigs to the glow of healthy skin, it's an unexpected transformation. What's the most unusual way you've ever used Vaseline? Fixing squeaky doors? Shining your shoes? Something even weirder? Let me know in the comments. Play-Doh. This one is a classic case of oops, we made magic. Back in 1912 in Cincinnati, a company was selling a soft, pliable compound designed for wiping soot off wallpaper. Yes, wallpaper cleaning was apparently a big thing back then. But as coal use dropped, so did the demand for their product, leaving the company in trouble. Who knew the soot cleaning business had such ups and downs? Enter Kay Zufall, the sister-in-law of one of the company's heads. She saw the potential for fun where others saw failure. She let kids play with the non-toxic material, and surprise, they loved it. Kay, a nursery school teacher, even came up with the name Play-Doh and suggested marketing it as a children's toy. Talk about a creative eye. Want to dive deeper into the Play-Doh story? Check out the Dr. Binock's show on Peekaboo Kids, where they break down this iconic invention in detail. It is the perfect combo of learning and fun. Today, Play-Doh has become a childhood staple owned by Hasbro and is more than just a toy. It is practically a rite of passage. Who hasn't spent hours molding, squishing, and mixing colors to make bizarre shapes, only to regret mixing the colors because mud? Now let's strike a match and light up our next invention, literally. Matchsticks. Sometimes genius strikes when you least expect it, and in the case of the matchstick, it happened when an English chemist named John Walker was simply messing around. One day, he casually dragged a stick covered in chemicals across a phosphorus-coated paper, and boom, it sparked a flame. Talk about lighting a fire under your experiment. Of course, the flame wasn't as controlled as today's matchsticks, but still it was enough for Walker to realize he was onto something hot. Pun totally intended. People advised him to patent the invention, but he was like, nah, let's just see where this goes. As you can imagine, others saw his missed opportunity and quickly capitalized on it, improving the design and safety over time. Now every time you light a match, remember, this fiery convenience was born out of a happy accident. From striking that first spark to the safety matches we know today, it has been a wild ride of discovery. Speaking of wild discoveries, let's move on to one that shines a whole new light on things. The X-ray machine. Let's jump back to 1895 when Wilhelm Conrad Röntgen accidentally changed the medical world while just trying to see what happened when cathode rays escaped a glass tube wrapped in cardboard. Nothing to see here, right? Wrong. Röntgen noticed a strange glow across the room far away from his glass tube. Maybe it was a case of the light at the end of the lab. At first, he thought, maybe there's a tear in the paper letting light through. But nope, he had stumbled upon something way cooler. These mysterious rays were passing through the paper and showing up on a fluorescent screen. And just like that, X-rays were born. Thanks to Röntgen's curiosity, we can now see right through our bodies without the whole messy business of opening them up. Not bad for a guy who was just trying to play with cathode rays. Teflon. Let's get a little science-y with Teflon, the non-stick wonder. The man who accidentally invented it was Roy Plunkett. He was subsequently assigned to work on synthesizing various new forms of refrigerant. The aim was to find a non-toxic alternative to refrigerants like sulfur dioxide and ammonia. Dr. Plunkett subsequently created around 100 pounds of TFE and stored the gas in small cylinders. On April 6, 1938, upon opening the valve on one of the pressurized cylinders of TFE that had previously been frozen, nothing came out even though its weight suggested it was full. Dr. Plunkett and Jack Reebok then decided to investigate further by cutting the cylinder open. There they discovered that the TFE gas inside had polymerized into a waxy white powder and PTFE resin. Ever the curious scientist Plunkett then proceeded to run tests on this new substance to see if it had any unique or useful properties. 3 years later, the process and name of Teflon were patented and trademarked, 4 years after that sale of Teflon began. Initially, it was only used for industrial and military applications due to the cost of producing TFE. Implantable pacemaker. Wilson Greatbatch wasn't exactly trying to make history in 1956, but sometimes all it takes is a little mistake to change the world. While tinkering with an oscilloscope, he accidentally installed the wrong resistor, and just like that, the implantable pacemaker was born. Greatbatch quickly realized that his device could control the heartbeat, replacing the bulky, painful pacemakers that hospitals were using at the time. Imagine something so small controlling your heartbeats while you're busy controlling the TV remote. Patients suffering from heart block had been dealing with blackouts, dizziness, and often death because their hearts didn't send proper signals. But by connecting electrodes from his new machine into the heart's muscle tissue, Greatbatch found a way to keep patients' hearts beating reliably. The implantable pacemaker allowed people, many of them children, to live full and active lives without the constant fear of fainting or worse. It's a little spark of life that you can hold in your hand, literally. Among modern engineering marvels, this device stands out as one of the most life-changing inventions ever created. Now that we've got the heart beating right, how about we heat up the kitchen with another accidental discovery? Microwave. Let's take a moment to thank Percy Spencer for revolutionizing fast food, by accident of course. In 1945, Spencer, an American engineer, was working in a lab testing magnetrons, which are used in radars. While working near the magnetrons, he noticed something strange. A peanut butter candy bar in his pocket had started melting. That's one way to get a hot snack, right? Realizing that microwaves were the cause, Spencer ran a little test. He threw in some popcorn and sure enough it started popping all over the place. That's how the microwave oven was conceived. By the late 20th century, microwave ovens had taken over kitchens worldwide, making reheating leftovers a breeze. In 1999, Spencer was immortalized in the National Inventors Hall of Fame, honored for creating one of the most popular kitchen appliances ever. So next time you're nuking your French fries, remember that this genius invention started with a candy bar and a pocket. Speaking of sticky situations, let's move on to another accidental invention. Postit. Sometimes a weak adhesive can become a strong success. Back in the late 1960s, a 3M scientist was trying to create a super strong adhesive, but ended up with something quite the opposite, a weak adhesive. Talk about a sticky situation. For years, that weak adhesive sat unused until 1974. When Arthur Fry, another 3M scientist, was looking for something that could stick to his hymnal pages without damaging them. Suddenly, that weak adhesive was perfect. After several prototypes, the Post-it note was introduced to the world, and it wasn't long before colorful squares of paper invaded offices, homes, and even schools. Who knew that a failed glue experiment could become such a success? Post-it notes have even popped up as plot points in movies and TV shows, proving that this sticky invention is here to stay. From weak glue to tough rubber, let's roll into our next accidental innovation. Vulcanized rubber. In 1839, Charles Goodyear was trying to improve rubber, but he probably didn't expect his experiment to lead to one of the most important materials of the modern era. Goodyear accidentally dropped a mixture of rubber and sulfur onto a hot stove, and to his surprise, the rubber didn't melt. Instead, it hardened into a more durable and flexible form, what we now call vulcanized rubber. Imagine turning a cooking accident into something that revolutionizes industries. Goodyear's vulcanized rubber became a game changer, making everything from tires to shoes more durable. He patented the process in 1844, and rubber has been a key player in industrial advancements ever since. Now, after all that durability, let's clean things up with a little dry cleaning magic. Dry clean. The biggest revolution in laundry didn't happen in a washing machine. It happened because of a careless maid. Back in 1825, a maid knocked over a lamp, spilling turpentine all over a dirty tablecloth. When the turpentine dried, the stains had vanished. Frenchman Jean-Baptiste Joly saw this and thought, "This is how we're cleaning things now." Joly decided to bathe the entire tablecloth in turpentine, and sure enough, it came out spotless. Soon after, he opened the first modern dry cleaning shop in Paris, revolutionizing how people cared for their clothes. Thomas Jennings, an African-American inventor, had also developed an early method called dry scouring in 1821, and he became the first African-American to receive a patent for his process. Talk about cleaning up the competition. Modern dry cleaning has evolved since these early experiments, but it all started with a careless spill and a bit of ingenuity. Dynamite. In the 1840s, Asciano Sobrero, an Italian chemist working in a Paris lab, discovered nitroglycerin, a highly explosive substance. But Sobrero thought it was far too dangerous to have any real-world use. Little did he know his creation would pave the way for one of the most famous and explosive inventions ever, dynamite. While Sobrero didn't see much potential, a certain Swedish inventor by the name of Alfred Nobel did. Nobel was fascinated by the idea of controlling explosions. After experimenting for years, he finally hit the jackpot in 1867 by stabilizing nitroglycerin with a material called kieselguhr. The mixture was placed inside cardboard tubes, making it safer and easier to transport. Talk about taking something dangerous and putting it in a handy package. Nobel patented his invention under the name Nobel's blasting powder, but soon it was rebranded as dynamite from the Greek word dynamis, meaning power. Nobel's invention became an essential tool in industries like construction and mining, as it was far more effective than black powder. But here's the twist. After years of using dynamite to blow things up, Nobel started feeling guilty. The same explosive that made him rich was also causing destruction. To redeem himself, he set up the Nobel Peace Prize, a prestigious award that bears his name to this day. Funny how the inventor of dynamite is now synonymous with peace, right? Speaking of life-changing discoveries, let's move from explosions to a little blue pill that changed the world in a different way. Viagra. Here's a discovery that started out as a heart medication but ended up changing the lives of millions of men. In the 1990s, researchers at Pfizer were working on a drug called sildenafil, which was supposed to treat high blood pressure and angina, a type of chest pain related to heart disease. The drug was promising, but during testing, something unexpected happened. Male volunteers reported an interesting side effect. Instead of relieving chest pain, the drug caused penile erections within 30 to 60 minutes of taking it. Now that's what you call an uplifting side effect. Pfizer realized that the drug's true potential wasn't in treating heart conditions, but in treating erectile dysfunction. In 1996, Pfizer patented the drug, and just 2 years later, it was approved by the FDA for use in treating erectile